Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When? With the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone. Tony, what's going on, man? How are you?
Conrad, how long we been doing this?
Man, it feels like forever. Like 6, almost 7 years.
Yeah, I guess in January we'll start season number 8.
Isn't that crazy? Where's the time go?
I don't know. It's just, it flies by. And of course, that's the way it is when you get older. And I'm older than you, much more.
I'm trying to catch up, though.
Well, you will catch up eventually when I'm dead.
Well, let's not say that. I mean, listen, the way you're eating pineapple and keeping regular, I think you could be here for a long, long time.
Thanks for saying that. Good to talk to you. How's everybody doing?
Man, better than we deserve. It is a chilly morning here in North Alabama, and Christmas is right around the corner. This is going to be our last What Happened When before Christmas. And Tony, around this time of year, everywhere I go, people says, "You ready for Christmas? You about ready for Christmas?" I don't even know what the hell that means, but I think it means, do you have all of your shopping done?
Right.
And
that's what it means. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this. She doesn't listen to the program. This is a safe space. Yeah. What's Lois getting for Christmas this year?
I'm not telling you that because you're a big mouth and you'll spread it everywhere.
What is it? Okay, I mean, you did get her something this year. I mean, you told me a few years ago, all you get Lois for Christmas is hard dick and conversation. Have you upgraded that?
Yeah.
There's a real gift with a bow on it this time.
Yes, there is.
Okay. I know there was a fancy sewing machine in the past. I know there was a Peloton in the past. Like you've been every now and again, you've been known to be a good gift giver. You're not going to give us a hint at all. We're going to find out next week.
It's nothing big, but I want to tell you this, that I've been around. This is my 66th year. And,
with AEW, you've been with AEW 66
seemingly,
yes.
But this is a first for Christmas for me.
How so?
No Christmas tree.
What? Wait, what?
None.
What, why?
I don't know. Ask the bitch. I mean, ask Lois why there's no tree.
Well, listen, we know that she, like Humpty Dumpty, had a great fall earlier this year. Right. Is that the reason? It's just too much of a hassle for her to put it up?
Yeah. She just said, I just don't want to fool with one this year. And normally we're not here on Christmas.
Oh, I see.
We go to Chris's house or somewhere. Sometimes we've gone up to my sister's house in Virginia, and sometimes we've gone to Matt's house in New Jersey. But so since we're not going to be here, there'll be no really presents under the tree because we ship them all out.
I see.
So I just don't want to fool with. And I said, that's fine. You know, we got this little beagle who probably will knock it over 100 times anyway. And so.
Is that beagle a terrorist? It feels like that beagle's taking over your life.
It's taking over hers. It's a freaking mess, man. It is a mess. So we have no Christmas tree. And so I said, okay, fuck it. Then I won't even decorate the house. We have no decorations at all. None.
How do you feel about that? Seems like you're quarter hot about it.
Feels like I'm celebrating Hanukkah.
I think you're still allowed to decorate for Hanukkah.
Yeah, we are. We got some very, very, very good friends across the street who are Jewish, and we went over to their house and one of the nights light the candle, and
oh, that's cool.
And they decorate. But just another Christmas, and you know when you work around Christmas, like for instance, we got 2 days later, we have Dynamite.
In Orlando.
27th in Orlando. 2 days before, on the 23rd, we've got a Collision in San Antonio. So I really don't get that big Christmas break that some people get, you know? So I really can't go anywhere this time. I mean, the Saturday shows have kind of put a crimp in being able to spend, a lot of time together. We recently, if you'll recall, went to Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
We taped on Tuesday and had a live show on Wednesday. Because we taped on Tuesday, we did not have a show live on Saturday. So I got home Thursday after the taping or after the live Montreal show and did not leave again until we left for Dallas on Wednesday. So Thursday to Wednesday, I was home.
That's amazing.
That was the longest time I've been home. And after being at home that long, I realized how much I enjoyed the road.
Well, the road is fun. AEWTIX.com. As you're listening tonight, they're in Oklahoma City. And the rumor and innuendo is that JR's in town. He's back in his Oklahoma house. So, hope you get a chance to catch up with Jim tonight as folks are listening. And of course, this weekend you mentioned San Antonio getting a big collision show at the Frostbank Center. Tickets on sale now, AEWTIX.com. And how about a little stocking stuffer, a great last minute present for the wrestling fan in your life. AEW coming to Orlando on Wednesday, December 27th. And tickets on sale now at AEWTIX.com. But Tony, we're kind of burying the lead. It's pay-per-view season. You guys are right around the corner from World's End, going down in Long Island. And it's December 30th. AEW always over-delivers on pay-per-view. And speaking of over-delivering on pay-per-view, I felt like Ring of Honor did this past weekend. You gave me a heads up. Hey, man, are you watching this? And my wife had me doing some holiday stuff. And I said, man, I'm taping it. I'm going to watch it later. And then you said, oh no, you need to go watch Vikingo and Black Taurus right now. So I made the wife stop whatever the hell we were doing and said, hey, Tony said we need to watch this. That's a spectacle unlike I've seen before, Tony. There was some stuff in there I've never seen anywhere ever before. It was unbelievable. Thanks for the heads up.
It's one of those matches, and very rarely do I say this to myself, but it was one of those matches where about 3/4 of the way through it, I'm thinking, one of these kids are going to die tonight because they just put their bodies on the line and then, I'm backstage and Vikingo comes back and he's hurting, man. He is really hurting. He sits there and the doctors attend to him. Then he takes a few breaths and he says, I'm okay. And he walks away and I'm thinking, geez, it's a freaking miracle. It was just amazing. Now I had seen Black Taurus at the Ric Flair final match. That's the first time I had seen him. So, then I saw him backstage and really got to meet him, say hello to him. But for a guy his size, he can do some amazing things. And that was really, to me, a 5-star match. It just really was. So, and then if you watch the entire show, I thought Athena and Billy Starks had a great, great match. Obviously, the
FTR match was nuts.
Yeah, it was nuts. Those people, again, putting their bodies on the line. The Last Man Standing, or whatever that was called, match for the television championship was great, especially the last two, Commander and Kyle Fletcher. That's worth watching too. Where Fletcher won the television championship. So if you haven't watched that, it's worth watching. It was a good, I really think I think it's a shame because, a lot of people see Ring of Honor as like, well, they're just on streaming and it's just throwaway matches. And I get it. But the last two times we've really delivered on pay-per-views on Ring of Honor. So
I think it's been every time on pay-per-view. And by the way, anybody who's saying, oh, it's just on streaming, guys, if we think of it like, what NXT was, look at where NXT is now. And let's also, I was really appreciative in Tony's media scrum afterwards, where he really put context to the number of tickets sold. Because listen, there's some tribalism in wrestling and people hate on anything AEW does. And I get it. Hey man, do you. But when he pointed out, hey, you can count on two hands the number of times not AEW, but Ring of Honor drew more than 2,000 fans. Like, this is a marked improvement from where Ring of Honor was prior to his ownership as far as attendance and things like that. And I think he's on the money when he says that pay-per-view was arguably one of the best values of the year. You can catch this entire show we just talked about at watchroh.com. And you don't have to know all the characters. You don't have to know all the performers. But if you want to see some stuff you've never seen before and you're truly a wrestling fan, it's about as good of a value as you can get. It's watchroh.com. I really enjoyed the show. And I thought Rampage was excellent. I have to admit, I'm not a regular Rampage watcher when it's live, but I did see the match set up with the Von Erichs and I wanted to see them. So I actually watched Rampage live for the first time in a long time. I normally DVR it, but when they came out to the old Ted Nugent stranglehold, it was pretty a goosebump moment for me, man. I'm fired up to see him, and I'm fired up to see the Iron Claw this weekend. Do you think you'll see the Iron Claw this week, or will you have to get it sometime in the future?
I'd like to go see it. I really would, but I probably end up seeing it once it starts streaming. Also on Rampage, we had just a kick-ass trios match.
Vikingo in that one again. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Isn't it something? I remember you telling me about Vikingo. He said, you said you've never seen anything like him.
I haven't.
And yeah, no one has. No one's seen that. Also, let me add to the ROH pay-per-view. I'm backstage.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 0 hour had already started. And Sanjay comes by me and he says, have you checked your text? I went, no, hell no. And because we got these text threads, and I don't know why I didn't check it, because I check it all the time. And it was from Sanjay. Sanjay said, Tony wants you to do an interview on this pay-per-view. I went, God damn it. It's not that I don't want to do it. It's just like, okay, what is it going to be about? So I got to rush around, and I don't have a Ring of Honor jacket, right? I just have an AEW jacket. I don't think that's appropriate. And I go to see our buddy Clint, right, who works one of their costume designers.
Great guy, Chattanooga, Tennessee, represent.
Yeah, and he said, well, I've got a jacket. I think it'll fit you, an extra jacket in one of these cases, and I'll put a Ring of Honor patch on it.
Yeah.
And he did, and I did the interview with Brian Keith and Orange Cassidy to set up the match on Dynamite. So it was the first time I'd ever been on Ring of Honor. How about that?
You made your Ring of Honor debut. How about that?
Yeah. Just at like last minute type shit. So, yeah. So there you go. And I made my Ring of Honor debut when Bobby Cruz was the ring announcer on his 20th Ring of Honor pay-per-view.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah. Good for Bobby.
Listen, if I had to guess, knowing you, when you first found out you were going to be on TV unexpectedly, I know the first thought that went through your mind is, I got to have a jacket. I need something to wear. But you also probably thought, I need to run to the bathroom and trim my ball hair. Santa baby, the season for a fresh cut is finally here with the sponsors of today's show, Manscaped. The leaders in below the waist grooming have just launched their 5th generation performance package to help you avoid another silent night in the bedroom this year. Take care of your special snowflake with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra and watch your South Pole shine like never before. Get the best stocking stuffer of all by going to manscaped.com and using the code WHW for 20% off plus free shipping. Mrs. Claus will thank you. Manscaped is a one-stop shop for all of your holiday needs. I'm telling you, the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is going to get the attention and the reaction you want. There's a guy in your life that's hard to buy for. Maybe it's your dad. Maybe it's your father-in-law. I've gifted these to my dad, my father-in-law, my favorite uncle, guys in the office. If you got Dirty Santa going, some sort of Christmas function, it gets a great reaction every single time. But this product is no joke. It is the real deal. Tony Schiavone used to have really hairy nuts. He tried Manscaped. Tony Khan called a week later. Coincidence? I think not. What were you saying, Tony?
Your father-in-law is Ric Flair.
Yep.
So you gave him a ball hair trimmer?
I did. And he says, you know what they say about me. I said, no, you don't use it on them. You use it on yourself. Oh, okay. Got it.
Jesus.
Listen,
I knew that was coming up.
Well, I mean, you did it. Come on now. Here's the deal. You're going to like this. They've got something for everybody. It's skin safe technology on this Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. It's going to help Santa reduce the cuts on his Santa sack. And they've got the Beard Hedger Pro Kit and the Handyman Electric Face Shaver. We can take care of everything upstairs as well. Maybe your dad's like Tony Schiavone and he's got some nasty ass nose hairs. Well, Tony got hooked up with the Weed Whacker 2.0 nose and ear hair trimmer, and now he's television ready. They've also got the Boxers 2.0 from Manscaped, which has a jewel pouch to keep your gimmick cool. And if maybe your nails have seen better days, how about the Shears 3.0 nail grooming kit? When I first met Tony Schiavone, all of his fingers looked like they were Coke nails. He was passing out key bumps left and right. I don't know what he was doing in the drive-thru, but I know for sure that he's got the 3.0 nail trimmer kit now, and it's no longer an issue. He's camera ready, folks, and you can be too. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code WHW at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code WHW and say ho, ho, ho to a well-groomed mistletoe with Manscaped. You ever try that, Tony? You ever get like a mistletoe belt buckle? Go give Lois a little Christmas morning sugar, something like that?
No.
I think you
not
should
a bad
check into
idea.
that. Yeah, not the worst idea I ever had.
No, there really are mistletoe belt buckles out there.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Some people can think up some shit, man.
Yeah. Well, I thought of some shit. You know, we had a lot of fun last week when we watched an old Royal Rumble, and I thought to myself, what if we watched an old SummerSlam celebrating 40 years of Schiavone? And it wasn't even, I can't even take credit for all of the idea. As we're celebrating 40 years of Schiavone here today, we have a very special guest with us to do a little watch along. We like watch alongs in these parts, don't we, Tony?
We sure do. That's what we're all about. We didn't start out that way, but the way we started out, we bored the hell out of each other. So we changed it to watch alongs, and that's what we've been doing. And we kind of always say that this podcast is about guys getting together and watching wrestling together.
Yeah,
and
man.
reliving the past, be it a decade ago, 20 years ago, 30, even 40 years ago. And so that's what we're all about. So we're watching today.
And we're watching with one of our friends, one of our guy friends, as you said. Wrestling friends are a real thing. And Tony and I are wrestling friends, and we're going to welcome in another one of our pals to take a look at SummerSlam 1989. This is your first and only SummerSlam, right, Tony?
Yeah, it is. I was gone by SummerSlam 1990. My last event was WrestleMania 6. So that was it. And of course, SummerSlam followed that. But this was my only one. And this has to be one of my more exciting moments, to be able to work with Jesse Ventura. This was the first time I had worked with Jesse. So it was a big deal for me.
And it's a big pay-per-view. This is before there were monthly pay-per-views. I mean, in this era, we had Royal Rumble, we had WrestleMania, we had SummerSlam, we had Survivor Series. That was it. This was a really big deal. And it's a really big deal for us to have a very special guest who's going to help us call it right down the middle. Ladies and gentlemen, AEW official, Mr. Bryce Remsburg. Bryce, welcome to the program, man. How are you, dude?
It's a pleasure to be here with you, the Podfather, Conrad, on this morning, and I guess it's okay to see Tony as well. You stretching, bud? You all right?
Yes, I am, Bryce. Damn, it's so good to see you.
It's great to see you. It's not enough I get to see you every Wednesday, and some Saturdays. Might as well make it this beautiful, what is it, a Wednesday morning here on our way to Oklahoma? Great to see you, Tony. Great to see you.
It's good to see you. I a little inside information here. I probably get more texts from Bryce Remsburg. I see more texts from Bryce Remsburg than I do any person on the history of the earth every week.
Wow.
My phone dings. There's two different, and I won't go into it, but there are two different threads we're on, and it goes ding, and I'm thinking, there's Bryce.
Trying to get information, Tony's either, supplying information, a humorous gif, or wrangling your father-in-law, Conrad. That's one of Tony's, one of the many hats he wears in our parts. When you were talking about text threads with Sanjay, I had to look at my phone, make sure I didn't miss a text thread, because that's the straw that stirs the AEW drink is text threads.
Yeah, it is.
They're trying to get us all to go to Slack, but I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I don't either. It's like, isn't there some sort of meeting we have, or did we have a meeting that I missed about Slack?
Well, you were there, actually. You were in the room. You might have been inebriated. You might have been on some hallucinogens. You weren't there, but you were in the room. We had champagne at the end of the meeting because
oh yes, that's right.
We were celebrating your 40th year in wrestling, much like we're doing today.
Right. Yeah, Conrad. They're trying to take us and move us over to this different
Slack. Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
It's like,
you don't like it.
Well,
it's just easier.
Certain people aren't going to embrace it. It's never really going to stick.
Yeah.
How about that?
Right. Everybody texts, okay? Mm-hmm. Everybody texts. I never thought when texting first started, I'm thinking, what the fuck? Just pick up and make a phone call.
Yep.
But now texting has become so much a big part of what we do. And we got so many different text threads that are very important text threads, including one to wrestlers, right? And they all get their text. They won't always answer an email.
You can email wrestlers all day. You can call them; they won't pick up. You can anything, right. either Instagram DMs or text. That's how you get 22-year-olds' attention.
That's exactly right. That's right. So yeah, they will say, "Oh, I never saw that email. I didn't get it." But a text chain works. So I don't know. But anyway, ding goes my phone. There's Bryce.
Who would have thought, Tony, when you started in 1983, you'd be texting 18 and 19-year-old wrestlers, people that I passed the point a couple years ago where I had been refereeing longer than some of my coworkers had been alive. But that's pretty much double for this old fart over here in the Batman sweatshirt, right?
I love it. Well, listen, you sort of said something a minute ago, Bryce, I want to follow up on. You insinuated that Tony is really the wrangler for the Nature Boy, because he said that before on the show, but I thought he was just kidding. Is it really one of Tony's jobs to watch Ric Flair and keep him on a leash?
I think he's one of the wranglers of the Nature Boy.
Okay.
Is that fair to say? It takes a village, I understand, and that's a compliment.
Yeah, it's a mess.
I was trying to be nice.
Yeah. When Rick was in Philadelphia, after Rick was in Philadelphia in the first event for us,
which was a whole adventure getting him there to start with.
That was tremendous. Yeah. So seeing Ric Flair in a wheelchair with a black cloak over his head being wheeled into a.
Wait. Are you there? He really was in a wheelchair with a black cloak.
That's how we sneak people in the arena.
That's how we sneak people in the back. Okay.
Oh my God.
When there's a surprise debut, it's like to be kept under wraps. So there's nothing more inconspicuous than a wheelchair going by with a black cloak over it, being snuck into a room that says, special guest or something ominous like that.
I'm sure Rick liked that.
Yeah, I'm sure he did too.
I'm sure that's his favorite.
When he was driven in, I told you the story about how I opened the doors today. This is not Jim Crockett Promotions, 1986. Slammed the door on him, and he was laughing. And then I saw him wheel him in, and I'm thinking, what? Wouldn't it be great if I just did a lower clothesline right now? Just
yes,
boom. Yeah, the chair would go woo way back.
We have Conrad. I am the travel manager of AEW, so we employ 5 drivers that help between Wednesdays and Saturdays pay-per-views, and it's just one of their jobs. They pick them up at the airport, they take them to the arena, they pick them up at the hotel, and Rick, God bless him, he tips them every time.
Yes,
it's their job. You don't have to tip them. It's they're getting paid a salary by Tony Khan to do this, but he's insistent about tipping our drivers. So now they all want to drive him, so it kind of works for me.
Well, since I'm his contact, I think I better take over that driving.
There you go. That's right.
I was going to say, you should get those tips, Tony. I mean,
you'll have plenty of money for manscaping.
I'm just guessing those are not $5 tips, knowing Rick too. Those are pretty solid tips.
No, they're not. They're 3-digit tips at the very minimum.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, everybody knows a game called Just the Tip, and with, let's move on. Hey, we should talk, since we're talking about Ric Flair, I feel like we should talk about Henson shaving. Ric Flair loves a good blade job. Can we agree on that, Tony?
Well, he did.
Well, I think he still might. I mean, I have it on good authority that while Sting is wrestling his last match, Rick on the outside is just going to start cutting himself. That's what he does.
That's why the cloak over the wheelchair was black.
He was doing a blade job as he made it to his dressing room.
Well, in the Flair family, wrestling is a family business, but Henson Shaving is also a family business. They've made aerospace parts for the International Space Station and the Mars rover, and now they've taken their aerospace grade CNC machines to make the thinnest razors you've ever seen. I know what you're thinking. You're wondering, how thick are they? About 0.0013 inches. That's thinner than a human hair. And what it means for you is a more secure and stable blade that gives you a vibration-free shave. Serious business. If you have like nicks or scrapes or cuts, you have a vibration problem. And these Henson razors are so thin, they get rid of all that. Not only that, the razor actually has built-in channels to evacuate hair and cream, and that makes clogging virtually impossible. And as a business guy, what I appreciate is these cats wanted to make the best razor, not necessarily the best razor business. What I mean is there's nothing plastic about this. There's no gimmicky subscriptions. There's no proprietary blades. It uses like a standard dual edge blade that old Pop's familiar with. Actually, every old school wrestler is. But this has the benefits of new school tech. Pop never had a razor this thin. By the way, I want to mention, not only is a better shave than what you've been doing, it's also much more affordable. You see, once you own a Henson razor, it's only like $3 to $5 a year to replace the blades. Think about that. Normally the blades are so expensive, they keep them under lock and key down at the drugstore. Not here. $3 to $5 a year. But check this out. It's time to say no to subscriptions and yes to a razor that will last you a lifetime. Visit hensonshaving.com/Tony to pick the razor for you and use the code Tony. You'll get 2 years worth of blades free with your razor. Just be sure to add them to your cart. That's 100 free blades when you head to hensonshaving.com/Tony and use the code Tony. So Bryce, we're here today to do a little watch along from some old school wrestling, and the show we're watching is SummerSlam 89. I'm excited to watch this with you. What we're going to do is we're going to bounce around a little bit, boys and girls. So we want you to watch along with us, fire up your Peacock, and we're going to start at the very beginning of the show. Eventually we will pause and skip to another section, but we're going to open the show, and Tony, you can just hear it in your voice, the excitement when we open the show. And normally, Tony, before we do one of these big countdowns, you've got, or one of these big watch alongs, you've got a countdown. Do you have one today for us?
No, I wanted Bryce to count us down.
Oh,
okay,
yes.
What do we start from? 10 or 5?
5.
5. All right. Ready, Tony? This one's for you.
This is great. I'm fired
5.
up.
I'll back up so you can see it.
Yes.
Okay.
4, 3, 2, 1, play. Oh, this is great.
All the excitement of the World Wrestling Federation has filled the Meadowlands Arena. It's SummerSlam. The wait, the anticipation is over. Now it's time to feel the heat. Hi, everyone. I'm Tony Schiavone, joined in the broadcast location by Jesse the Body Ventura.
Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you, Schiavone, don't you get out of line with me. Because I wrestled, you're the man responsible for Bobby Heenan getting run off the air. So you stay in line with me.
Well, don't you worry about that, Jesse Ventura. But tonight, the big main event, they're all talking about Hulk Hogan, Brutus the Barber Beefcake against the Macho Man and Zeus.
Unbelievable, Zeus.
So, Tony, this is a special moment in your career. You're working with Jesse Ventura, but you're also in the Northeast. You know, through your travels with JCP, you went all over the place, but the Northeast was obviously, you know, the home of the WWF and a big pay-per-view, but you could just hear the excitement in your voice, or at least I think you could.
Well, you know, I really thought I'd hit the big time, and I guess I had, wrestling wise, because even though it was the Northeast, you know, I kept up with the WWF, and I was a big fan. There's Emily Feinberg, Vince's assistant, right there, the famous one.
Go ahead and Google that name if you want.
Yeah. I think we're going to see Kevin Dunn hit a golf ball here too.
I think that was him on a bike. And by the way, the little girl jumping in the pool, that was Stephanie in Vince's backyard.
Right.
Lots of Easter eggs
yeah.
in these opens here.
Right. So, you know, I had watched Saturday night's main event on NBC. There's Kevin Dunn hitting a golf ball. And I was really excited about doing this. I mean, really excited about doing this. I had already done I do believe by that time, my first Madison Square Garden event, my Boston Garden event. So that was all really exciting.
That was the same day, right, Tony?
What's that?
That was the same day. You told me that story. That you jetted from New York to Boston. Yeah.
Yeah. New York to Boston, same day, man. New England, Madison, MSG, and then the New England Sports Network then, which I don't know if MSG still, do they still bring the Madison Square Garden shows on MSG Network? They probably don't.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
There's one coming up. They always do one around Christmas. And hey, here's a little treat for us. One of my favorite matches of all time here, a very underrated match in my opinion. We got the Hart Foundation coming out, and they're going to be taking on your old pals. I'm pretty fired up about this too, to think about, you know, Arn and Tully in the WWE. Was that Did it feel like there was a big defection from Jim Crockett Promotions? All the talent that came, whether it was J.J. Dillon or Barry Windham or Arn and Tully or Ronnie Garvin, yourself?
Of course it was. Yeah. It was a big defection. We all knew that. And it coincided with the sale of Crockett going to Turner Broadcasting. And no one really trusted Jim Hurd or what he was doing. And of course, Arn and Tully left even before that. But hey, Bryce, so tell me, how old were you back here?
I was 6 here in 1989, about the same age as Mr. Matthew Schiavone.
Okay.
I started watching wrestling about a year after this.
Okay.
It was SummerSlam 90. It was the Ultimate Warrior. I remember getting it. I saw it at my friend's house, got the paper when I was 7 years old, and I was hooked. All the magazines, everything. I was a Northeast kid, so I was a WWE kid. My first event, I begged my dad to take me to the Hershey Park Arena.
Right.
December 26, 1991, day after Christmas, and the main event's Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair. So it's all kind of been downhill from there. That was my first show ever. I was 8. But 1989, partially because of Conrad and Bruce, are one of my favorite years because I didn't experience it in real time. It's like going back and reliving it. So, reading the old Observers and watching all the old papers, watching old TVs, that's kind of like, I'm like back channel patchworking my fandom here.
Mm.
I got a happy Thanksgiving text from Tully Blanchard once. It blew my mind. Very
Really?
nice, very nice man, very nice man. Tully and I had a special relationship because he was always trying to kind of in his time with AEW, he was also working as a minister in a prison in San Antonio.
Right.
So it was always this game. He would, get in at the very last minute and leave at the very first minute. You'd barely see him sometimes.
Right.
So he'd be delayed. We're trying to fix it because you were probably one of the people looking for him at the building. And he was sometimes not there yet. He would appear at the very last minute, go out, do his thing, go back to the hotel. You sometimes see him at the hotel bar with one singular glass of red wine. That's what he said. Just one glass of wine. Up to bed, out in the morning. He'd be at the prison by 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock San Antonio Thursday morning. So
wow.
He's an enigma, but I did my best to take very good care of him, and he was always very, very kind to me.
The thing about Tully is when I think about Tully from this era, he's probably the last man I thought would ever become a minister.
Right? Right?
Yeah, right.
What a remarkable human being. And you want to talk about 2 great tag teams here. Bryce, we've expressed our love for Arn and Tully as one of our all-time favorite tag teams here, but a lot of people who grew up as WWF kids, like I didn't have an appreciation for Arn and Tully back then. I had to grow into it, but I loved the Hart Foundation as a kid. Where were you on them?
They were, as a kid, I didn't appreciate them. I was a Bushwhackers kid, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wacky, and the Rougeaus were silly. But as I came to, as a teenager, I started wrestling training at 19. I was watching all these tapes, and I back channel really appreciated, the magic of Bret Hart, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Rockers, Brainbusters matches still hold up. And it feels like the good ones weren't even televised. There's maybe a Saturday Night's Main Event one from March of '89 that's decent, but there's some like Boston Garden, Maple Leaf Garden, Rockers, Brainbusters, some are 2 out of 3 falls matches. That's tag team gold. That's what you study. And I am quite sure our friends in FTR, kind of the modern day tag team specialists, have watched those matches before.
Oh, sure. So Bryce, let me ask you, did you get your picture taken with Jacques Rougeau in Montreal?
I did not. I have heard he's not the most popular these days, despite all the WrestleMania ball grabs he gave Bushwhackers, or was given by Bushwhackers, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Chris Jericho actually warned me about him.
Really? Well, he was. Listen, I've obviously known Jacques a long time, and he and I really get along, and he's so friendly backstage, and he told me, he said, I'd just like to meet Tony Khan.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, Jacques, he's going to be out here pretty soon at the gorilla position. Go up and say hello. He said, but I don't want to interrupt him. I said, freaking interrupt him. I said, you're Jacques freaking Rougeau.
Right.
He's going to want to say hi to you.
I have seen Tony be very excited to meet people of much lower stature than Jacques Rougeau.
Right.
So I'm sure that Tony be very excited to meet
Yeah,
Jacques.
right. Yeah, when it comes to, I shouldn't say old-time wrestlers, but guys who've been in business for a long time, Tony knows them all, as we know.
People he grew up with.
He is so excited to meet them. So, hell, That's why I have a freaking job.
You earned your keep. I will tear down the facade for a minute. Tony's one of the hardest working guys in AEW. It's the Collision started. There's kind of this division. Everybody's kind of going to go where Tony, maybe reluctantly, but still raised his hand and is one of the few guys that travels to every single show twice a week. Ring of Honor pay-per-views, Dynamite, Rampage, Collision. I say Tony Schiavone and Chris Estelle, our other wardrobe guy, are the hardest working men in all e-wrestling. Well, you see Tony on camera, you see Chris behind camera, but it's, every town, every city, 66 years old, doesn't look a day over 76, but he's working really hard. He's there every week, every show, making towns, a professional, a pro's pro.
Thanks. That means a lot, Bryce. Thank you very much for that.
I see it. I was not in the wrestling world professionally as a full-time job before AEW, but I've been in AEW since day one. It's been almost 5 years. I've seen a few guys come and go, but there are a few that work as hard and prepare and take their job as seriously as Tony Schiavone. Well,
thank you for saying that. It's called the Lois effect.
Okay. It's what you're trying to get out of the house?
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
No, it's because I love the business, and when you make a commitment, you make a commitment. So thanks for saying that.
It's very true. It's very true.
It's interesting. We're watching this match here, and we're in the middle of the match, and they grab a hammerlock and go to the mat. And isn't it amazing how tag team wrestling has changed since then? There hasn't been really a dive yet.
In an opener, usually, especially nowadays, the openers, all killer, no filler. And this is just kind of part of the story they're trying to tell. This is non-title, Conrad, right?
Yeah, it might actually be on the line. I don't recall, but I do know for sure that the Brainbusters are going to steal a victory here. Not to give you a spoiler, but I don't know if you saw, Bryce, but one of my favorite things of this match just happened a few moments ago. Tully sort of reverse wormed his body over to the corner while Brett was working a wrist lock, I guess, and he stuck his foot up so Arn could tag it. And Arn tries to jump in the ring, and Joey Morella cuts him off like, hey, you can't tag his foot. That doesn't work. But I just thought little stuff like that, when I go back and watch this, I'm like, man, I don't remember seeing that before or since very often. And that was 1989. Like, these guys were clearly working on the really inside baseball mechanics of how to put together a match.
I think about things that I know about pro wrestling that are just because Gorilla Monsoon said them once. No offense to you, Tony, but he one time said a tag didn't count unless one of the partner's feet were on the apron. Like, someone was up and at him and the ref cut it off and sent him back, and Gorilla said, both of his feet were on the floor. So I just thought that was fact for the rest of my life. It's something that, Gorilla Monsoon might have said off the top of his head once, but that's it. Like Kevin Owens says he learned English from listening to Jim Ross talk. Like, it sticks in you when you're very impressionable. That's what you remember.
Yeah. Listen, Gorilla Monsoon.
Occipital protuberance, the bread basket, which apparently is a phrase I only know from a Gorilla Monsoon getting it in the bread basket.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, Gorilla Monsoon was a standard, and don't think I didn't realize that by doing this, I was doing something that Gorilla Monsoon probably would have done. And, I had a chance to work with him on Challenge, and listen, he meant a lot to me. He was one of those guys that helped guided me through the waters of the WWF back then, about what Vince liked, what Vince didn't like, how to approach your business, what to say, how to say it. And he was great. He was just great to work with.
What went into the decision to have you do the show and not Gorilla? Do you remember that, Tony?
No, I don't. I was told. Bruce Pritchard just told me when things would happen. I don't know why or when.
Was Gorilla there?
Yeah, at the show.
Yeah,
he was at all shows.
Did he? Was he like producing you? Did that happen back then? Was he in your ear at all?
No, he was at he ran the Gorilla position, and so yeah, right. So he was at that at the table that we still call a Gorilla position, and he really ran the show. He would say he would let the truck know that when the guys are going to the ring, and he would say, ring the bell. I remember he'd say that all the time. He'd tell the truck, he said, all right, they're on their way. Ring the bell. I mean, he was like
keeping it moving.
Yeah. And he was such a big authority figure back there that everybody went, whatever he'd say is fine.
Right.
I don't even think Vince would say anything bad to him back then.
That's ironic in a way, because that role that you discussed Gorilla having, kind of the senior member kind of looking out for everybody. That's kind of the role that I have noticed you have with the AEW announcers. You look out for Ian and Caprice and these guys that we don't see every week, but you kind of, you know, the Spanish team, Tony helps coach and assign and everything. And that's kind of the role you've inherited.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm a Gorilla Monsoon, but
No, sure. But you probably learned some of that from him, I would think.
yeah. How to bullshit people.
How to give them bad news better.
That's right. Got bad news for you. Okay.
Were you ever produced, Tony, in the WWF? I mean, we've heard all these nightmare stories about Vince screaming in people's ear, but I don't think that was happening here in '89 yet, was it?
It wasn't. Bruce Pritchard was my producer.
Okay.
In my ear. Yeah. And I have a feeling that a lot of the stuff that he told me was basically from Vince, I would think. Not sure. You know, I don't know where Vince was during the show back then. I don't think he was in the Gorilla position. He may have been, but I'm not so sure where he was comparatively. But, you know, I've said this before. There's just knowing my personality. There is no way I could do play-by-play with someone screaming in my ear.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know Tony does scream in our ears, and I get that, but it's not the way I've heard Vince does. All
of Tony's screaming I have found, and he screams at us too, but it's all to the service of the show.
Right.
It's all well intentioned, and it's because he wants the show to be the best possible thing it can be.
Yeah.
It's not mean spirited. It's because he wants to have he's constantly chasing the perfect show.
Sure.
And the things that he says are a lot of times for me very math related. You know, how many minutes are left until break, and how many minutes left, and we got this overrun. And sometimes he takes the scenic route to explain it, but his intention there. I know what he's trying to say. I understand what he's trying to say, and it is helpful and for the betterment of all of us.
I love that term. Takes the scenic route to explain it.
Yes.
That's great.
We all know what that means.
Yeah.
Hey, Bryce, we just talked a little bit about Gorilla Monsoon. Our referee for this match is Joey Morella, the real life son of Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah,
you obviously
socks, which is a no-no these days.
You're obviously a fabulous referee. One I first saw on CZW way back when. And I'm curious.
Wearing the yellow and black Beehive shirts.
When you were coming up as a professional wrestling referee, you mentioned going back and watching tape of matches, but were there any specific referees that you said, man, I like when he does this, or I like when that guy does that? Who were some of your inspirations as referees?
I was a big Tommy Young guy. I would love how he would kind of give it back. And a lot of, I mean, your father-in-law is big on this. Like, wrestling only works if we're all protecting the ecosystem. So if Tommy Young threatens or bows up to Ric Flair and he sells it, everyone thinks, oh, the referee's the business. The referee's the law and order. This is serious. So the way he reacts to Tommy Young, you know, puffing his chest out to him, like, that's something that always sticks with me. However big the dude is, if it's freaking Satnam Singh, we have to look like we are in control. Even if we aren't. My wife says I'm very good at being very bad at my job. But as long as we're looking like we're giving everyone the business, and it doesn't matter how big they are, how much they threaten us. You bring your shirt up, you show them the patches, they say, okay, whatever you say. And you'll find, I think, an effective babyface or heel will respect that and react to that, because it kind of protects the whole snow globe what we're working for here, if that makes sense. And then later, I always used to enjoy Mark Curtis, Brian Hildebrand, because he was kind of a little wiry guy like me, and he would kind of get a little animated and get into it. And I always watch him do the cruiserweight matches in WCW. You know, Mysterio Malenko, Guerrero Malenko, all those openers of the pay-per-views for a while. He was always often in there with them, and I always respected that he was able to kind of keep up with those guys too.
He was
the older lucha refs don't even get down to count. They're bending over, pounding on their knee a little bit. And Mark Curtis, he would get in there. He was quick, and I always appreciate that.
Mark Curtis was great, brother.
Yeah, you see, everyone has very nice things to say about him too. Dean Malenko and Chris Jericho, and a lot of guys that we work with now have nothing but good things to say about him.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy.
Tony, I don't think it was ever mathematically possible for Bryce or I to meet Joey Morella. Do you have any good Joey Morella stories? You ever spend any time with him?
No, not really. he was a good kid. He really was a good kid. And respected the business, of course. You know, his father was a legend in the business, and they put Joey in some very, very, key moments.
Hulk and Andre, WrestleMania 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and he was there not because of who he was, but because of how good he did. I've often said, the best referees are ones that just enhance what we're seeing, not interrupt it, just like any other official. But Joey was great. Interesting that there's the powder blue and the bow ties now, which you really don't see that much anymore, do you?
No, you don't. The ref in front of the hard cam too. That'd be a big no-no these days as well.
Boy, would it ever!
They teach us about the horseshoe and the U. What fascinates me, and you could probably elaborate on this, Tony. The referees in these days were not all necessarily trained to be referees. They just kind of inherited the spot.
Right.
Joey Merrill was on the ring crew. Mike Chioda started to put the rings together. Mark Eaton is the timekeeper. He was just kind of always around. They throw a ref shirt on him every now and again. It wasn't so much that, like, nowadays, most, not everybody, but most, you go to pro wrestling school to learn to be a referee, but these guys just kind of learned it by being around the business, just kind of a trial by fire thing.
Wow.
Look at this move here.
This is crazy.
I mean, you don't see that very often.
No.
And here comes Arn going to steal the victory here.
Bobby the Brain Heenan. I've told Tony this before. My dad was not a pro wrestling fan. He would take me to the shows because he loved me, but it was not his favorite thing. But the one thing I could get out of him, he loved Bobby the Brain Heenan because he was a showman. He was a game show host. He was a talk show host. So he was not a fan of wrestling. But anytime Bobby Heenan was on, or he was doing commentary or managing, my dad he would tolerate it because he always respected and appreciated Bobby Heenan.
Yeah, Bobby knew how to. I mean, he was a great announcer, but he knew how to be a manager too. Mm-hmm. And I say that because he wasn't overly active, so he didn't try to take the shine away from his wrestlers, but he just got involved right here, just subtly, if you call it subtly, and got the attention, and they won the match.
Look at this detail, Tony, where Arn's not the legal man, but he's going to cover his head up. The only distinguishing thing he would have to let the referee know, hey, that's not Tully.
Right.
He uses his arms and Brett's arm to cover his head, so the ref can't tell, wait, that's not Tully. 3 count comes, they steal the victory. The Brainbusters are victorious. And I don't know if you noticed, Tony, but they come in one entrance and they leave through an exit. Let's track this Dusty promo here with Mean Gene.
Your last minute thoughts. And let me tell you about my thoughts tonight. I've been so excited since my first date with Sally Gooden. And besides that, the facts are in. The man said, Dusty Rose, I am the proprietor of Heartbreak Hotel. I am the man that wears the blue suede shoes. You can't sing. Proved you wrong. You can't dance. We know I can dance circles around you. And now you say, prove to me in public, if you will, come and get it in SummerSlam. Excitement galore. So honky tonk. Tonight, just a few moments, you get your opportunity to show the public that Dusty Rose can't wrestle. And brother, you can mark this one down tonight. I'm gonna kick your booty. Ha! All right. Dusty
First take. That was a one take, right, Tony?
Probably so.
Yeah. I mean, clearly they were doing one takes this night because the sign falls down on Rick Rude, right? That wouldn't have got him any other way, I imagine, on the live show.
Yeah, that was that was cute. That was the tape queued up wrong by a guy named Rob Wright, who I'm so glad it happened to him.
Oh, you didn't like Rob Wright?
Yeah.
What was your heat with Rob Wright?
He was just a piece of shit.
Well,
you can look at you. Listen, if you're wrestling long enough, you can go backstage and after a week you can say, he's pretty good. She's a nice girl. She's a nice girl. Oh, there's a piece of shit right there. Okay.
Wow.
You can do that easily. Okay. It's not a hard thing to do.
How would you describe that promo we just saw, Tony? Well, you and I have seen some fabulous, serious business Dusty Rhodes promos on Jim Crockett Promotions. What we just saw right there was not exactly the same type of serious Dusty Rhodes promo, but hey, he was having fun. Here he is skipping to the ring here, and he's got some badass theme music. I mean, he's giving his all to make it work here, but What'd you think of that promo, Tony?
Well, it was silly and it was over the top and it was unlike the Dusty Rhodes Cowboy that we remember from the NWA.
Yes.
Obviously, it was a promo that a heavy-set man in polka dots would probably do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very silly. And he gave that $1 million.
Everything he said was convincing because he believed it, even if it was nonsense. It's it's the delivery, right?
Yeah, it's still Dusty Rhodes, right?
Right.
Yeah. It was good.
Another thing I noticed, you mentioned the exit, Conrad. I think that there's no big stage like this.
That's right.
The paper. They're just coming down an aisle.
Yes.
And I think a lot of that is twofold. I could be wrong, but one is it was a sign of the times. They didn't really do stages yet. But B, with that setup, you can fit more fans in the building.
Right.
Because we were actually, Tony and I don't know, he may or may not have been listening. I don't know. But we were on a corporate call yesterday. We're talking about, Sting's last match is going to be on March 3rd, 2024 in Greensboro, North Carolina. And there is so much excitement. The tickets are off to such a hot start that, there's talk of, well, if we have a minimalist stage or a tiny stage, we could fit more people in the arena. And because it's 3 months away or 2.5 months away, the stage isn't designed yet. So I think this is a weird kind of, because the tickets are so hot, now it's kind of like, oh, well, we can, Wembley Stadium this past year, we had a smaller stage because we had sold so many tickets.
Right.
So I'm guessing when you get these numbers, these 19, 20, 21,000 numbers for pay-per-views in this era, that's because there's virtually no stage. It's, there's more people there than a hockey game or a basketball game.
Sure. And of course, the ringside area is smaller here compared to what we have now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
You like sitting at ringside, Tony? Do you prefer sitting at ringside?
I love ringside.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I get my energy drink spilled on me almost every night.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
You don't like fans looking over your shoulder and stuff? That doesn't. You're probably used to it.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I mean, what are they going to see?
Right.
Looking over my shoulder. But I really like that. And you know what? I really like the subtle entrances. I just think maybe I'm wrong, and
I love it too, Tony.
I just don't know what we're getting. That pyro, the concussion boom pyro that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and we tested during the day, as you know, Bryce. It's like, because we have the fire marshal in, it's like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessary.
There's these orange sirens that go off backstage. Tony C doesn't see his ringside, but it's like it's a warning that this loud noise is going to happen. And
Right.
I always think to myself, if we have a noise that's so loud, we have to warn the people that work here. Does it really need to be so loud?
That's right.
And I also think, but when we test it during the afternoon, and they the pyro test, and they do all those pyros, like, well, that was the budget of an entire indie show right there. That test, that pyro test that no one saw, that right there is an entire a whole 3 months of indie wrestling.
Yeah, I just don't get it. And one thing that I do, I watch Rampage back. I watch the screener back on Thursday nights.
Mm-hmm.
That Open to Rampage is the exact same thing every Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Rampage. Same graphics, maybe a little bit different. You may see a Woo energy drink in there, but you see the pyro and you see the fans cheering. It's just, to me, it's overdone.
Just tape it once and reuse it. It's like,
Yeah.
we could lock Mark Henry in a room for 3 hours, just get him to say, well, sounds like we're going to have a great tag team match. Sounds like we're going to have a great women's match. Wow, these people are really mad at each other. Really excited for this trios match.
Of course we can.
It's time for the main event. Boom.
Right.
We got 3 months worth of use out of Mark Henry.
Yeah. I've often said you can take a sound card from me and say, you're right, JR, you're right, Excalibur, you're right, Taz, it's Sting, and just have somebody in the back hit the button.
Like morning radio.
All right.
Tony, I just realized you are the Teddy Ruxpin of commentary at this point.
Yes.
That is a reference that Dante Martin and Hook and Billy Starks would not get.
Yes, correct.
When you said the minimalist intros, Conrad, did you mean the music or just the kind of the stage, just like the quiet, smoky walk?
The lack of the set. The idea that there's just the glowing WWF logo and a curtain and an aisle, and we get the music. Like, I think the music adds a lot to it, but I don't know that I necessarily have to have the big video board. I do know they serve a purpose. Like when Thunder Rosa came back this past week, I know that she jumped over the guardrail, but I think, had she come down the ramp and that showed her name really big, then that would have been like, oh yeah, wait, here she is. So I get there's moments and times like that where the screens really help. But I think by and large, I like less is more. But I say that as a guy who loves Jim Crockett Promotions and who loves ECW and this era of WWF, and those big sets didn't exist for any of those.
Yeah, well, I go back to this, the term, and then the bell rang.
Yeah.
Okay, just all the pyro and all the video and all the hype and everything, and they get to the ring, and then sometimes the match sucks, and then you're thinking, boy, that was all that for that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, and to your point, Tony, as much as I know fans love going to TV shows, I mean, they want to be a part of a special show. They want it to feel like a big show and a special show. I get that. They're really coming to see the wrestling. To your point, they're not coming for concussion booms or fun pyro. Nobody says, I don't know if the matches are going to be any good, but there's going to be some badass fireworks indoors. Like that, nobody's ever said that.
It made you stick out in this era though. Like, the Brainbusters didn't have music, and that, and in a world of, Dusty Rhodes and Honky Tonk Man, two very over the top entrance musics, guys like the Brainbusters just coming and walking out like that. That in a way made them stick out. That made them unique because they're serious business. They're here to kick ass.
I think a lot of the Heenan family was like that. And I don't think about it. Andre didn't have theme music. The Brainbusters didn't have theme music. Haku didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Wow. No theme music.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy to think about, wouldn't it?
So, a quick Jimmy Hart story for you. When I was in the Indies, he was at a baseball stadium at the Harrisburg Senators. He was doing they did baseball after the minor league baseball game. And my wife was along with me to hang out before we had kids. And they needed someone to work Jimmy Hart's merchandise table. And he saw her, asked her to do it. She said, yeah, sure. So she spent the entire night with Jimmy Hart. He told her she's a teacher. He was telling her about the teachers he knew growing up, just the kindest, sweetest man. And at the end of the night, he says, thanks for helping me. What can I pay you for helping me with the merch? She goes, don't worry about it. I've never done this before. It's no big deal. Again, much like your father-in-law, he insisted, gave her $100 bill. And driving home, I realized that she made more than I did that night.
Wow.
she could buy dinner at the dinner on the diner on the way home because I did not make $100 that night with Andy. But and we still talk about, like, she says, how's my friend Jimmy Hart doing? How's my friend Jimmy Hart doing? And I did some autograph signing in Baltimore. He was there. I took a picture and sent to my wife. He's a revered name in this household because he was very, very nice man to her on that night. Every other time I've met him since, he's just been full of energy, very, very, very polite, upbeat. A thankless promoter, I've learned from you, Conrad, but just a nice guy that seems to really still to this day love pro wrestling.
An incredible human being. If you have an opportunity to meet Jimmy Hart at a convention or an opportunity to book him for an event, go out of your way to do it. To this day, every time I hang the phone up with Jimmy Hart, I love you, baby. Just the nicest guy you'd ever meet in wrestling.
And I've told the story before. Lois and I listened to, or at least Lois does, we listened to 60s Gold on Sirius XM, and they play Keep on Dancing almost every freaking morning. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's like, I was in radio and I was a disc jockey for a short time, and I knew you had a playlist. Okay. But I told Lois, I said, they got to get that song off the freaking playlist. They play it every morning. And so I've seen Jimmy twice since we started listening to Sirius XM. And I'll say, Jimmy, I hear Keep on Dancing every morning. Do you get any money for that from Sirius XM? He said, well, baby, I don't worry about that. He said, but I still have a plenty of wrestler music that I got that's never been used. And he just glosses right over it. Every time he ignores, Keep on Dancing. And just talks about the wrestling music and the wrestling library that was never used, and that he came up with all these songs for WCW guys. And he said, I know Turner still owns it. But that's Jimmy Hart.
You think he got paid by the song, or that was just he had a salary job, didn't matter how many songs he made, that was that every year?
Yeah, I think it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just
Woo!
Big ref bump.
Big ref bump in the second match. Jeez.
What's going on?
Taught these kids how to work.
Shake his head.
That might have been amazing, and I say this as a compliment, the first bump of the match. That's how good these two are.
That's right.
By the way, that guitar looks a little different than Jeff Jarrett's guitars.
Oh man.
Yeah, was it ever, buddy?
That wasn't a Jake the Snake job either.
How about that? 1, 2, 3, Dusty Rhodes wins. He told you he could sing. He told you he could dance. He told you he could wrestle.
You know what? The fans really popped on that too.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And it's a combination of things. They love Dusty, but guess what? They hate the honky tonk man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is, in an era where, there's good guys and bad guys. There were no cool heels here. Like, everybody hated the Brain Busters. Everybody hated the honky tonk man. Oh, here's Sean Mooney. Let's track it.
Oh.
Anybody who would know the name of that tune, I'd have to say it would be you.
Me and Zilla, we come out to Lisa Marie. I've got a concert to do. A lot of people here to see me sing, so somebody help me find a stage.
Well, I'm a little confused, but not as confused as the honky tonk man appears to be.
Yes.
He thinks Jimmy Hart is Priscilla Presley. They're a long way from Graceland.
So Tony, talk to us about Sean Mooney. Such a great voice for that time. I thought he did a fantastic job. I grew up with him, so I just have a soft spot for him. How was he to work with?
Oh, he was the best. We did a lot of crazy shit on Coliseum videos. If you go back and you look at some of the stuff, and I always had an idea that, especially when we had like a best of videotape, we should do these different things. And he would do whatever I asked of him, like, throw his head into a door, get hit in the face with a cake by Brother Love. He was great to work with. Of course, he went on to become a pretty successful news anchor as well in New York City. Yeah, how about that? How about going from wrestling to being a news anchor? Let's listen to this.
I don't think these guys are going to do that.
Into a 6-man brawl because we've got a few wrinkles in our attack. We're going all out. We've gone back to basics, back down into the dungeon, and you're going to see a few new wrinkles, right? That's right, Smash. It's just like he said, we went back to basic training because it's discipline. In fact, we're out in the Meadowlands parking lot picking up cars, throwing them around because it's going to be 2,000 pounds on the other side, and we plan on kicking their stinking teeth in.
All right, is that you, King? Is that you, Hacksaw?
It's not King Hacksaw no more. It's King Demolition. I've got a whole new outlook on life. These two men have trained my thought to one thing: destroy, attack, and destroy. So Twin Towers, Andre the Giant, you three big men are going down. Oh!
All right, let's get back out to the arena for more action.
So how about that promo from Hacksaw? He's here for 3 things, Bryce: to destroy, to attack, and to destroy.
It's quite an agenda. And like, how does that not grab your attention? I know it's a pay-per-view, but if you're flipping the channels, you come across Saturday Night's Main Event or Superstars of Wrestling, and you see that.
Yes.
You see Demolition and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. How do you not stop and check that out? Like that, it's so engaging. I think about that in modern day. What we do on Dynamite, flipping the channels and seeing Orange Cassidy or someone, just something that's not something you see at your everyday life, at your everyday job, and that you could tell Bill Eadie was engaged here because he had his hair slicked back. This is not Survivor Series 90, Conrad.
No, it is not. And he had the glitter. I mean, his glitter game was crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if you've probably, I'm sure you've had that at one of your conventions or something, but just watching those two guys kind of shoot the shit and catch up and lean over, doing their face paint, in their 60s, they're probably almost 70 at this point, but always just, they understand the assignment. They know what people want. They want to see the face paint. Darso's completely bald, but that's, they give the people they want. They do the photo ops and everything. You get the full experience.
Did you see like 10 years ago, they had, a couple of kids dress up as like miniature Demolition at a WrestleCon? It was unbelievable.
That's awesome.
When I got to the WWF, and after spending almost a year there, when I was in the NWA and we had the Road Warriors there, I looked at Demolition from afar thinking, man, they're just Road Warrior ripoffs. Mm-hmm. But then when I got to the WWF and started working with these guys and saw how their music hit and how they looked and how they worked, I thought they're not really Road Warrior ripoffs. They're really good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Powers of Pain maybe were Road Warrior ripoffs.
Exactly. But it was, I really got an appreciation for him. Of course, I'd worked with Barry Darsow for a long time as Crusher Khrushchev in the NWA, but never worked with Bill Eadie. But I knew Bill from being the Masked Superstar back in my fandom days of the NWA. So I really got a respect for them. How about this match? They start with Mr. Perfect in the ring.
Yeah, no big entrance for him. He's already in the ring, pulling his ear for, I guess, someone at home. And here he comes, the cock of the walk, the Red Rooster, Terry Taylor. We've joked about this a lot with Bruce over the years, Tony, that these are two characters right out of the old box of gimmicks because they started around the exact same time. One guy has an undefeated streak that lasts for seemingly years. The other guy struts and clucks like a chicken. Of course, their background being, once upon a time, Terry Taylor was the man for Mid-South and Bill Watts and had a little cup of coffee with JCP. Meanwhile, Kurt Hennig's coming off being the AWA champion, although it didn't mean quite what it used to when he had it. And this presentation of Mr. Perfect, what'd you think of that, Tony? Did you think, hey, this guy's talented, that has legs, or did you think it was hokey to call a guy Mr. Perfect?
No, I liked it. I thought it was the right character for him. And I just thought Kurt was so good that it didn't matter what you called him.
As a kid, I loved the Mr. Perfect character, but as an adult, I could see how some of this stuff you would think, that's kind of lame. Like the $1 Million Belt as a kid, I thought was the coolest thing ever. Now I see a guy wrestling with dollar signs on his boots and a glittery suit and a dollar sign belt. And I'm like, okay, this was for kids, but
of course
it was awesome for me as a kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to imagine, of course, it's easy to say now, but it's hard to imagine anyone else as Mr. Perfect or anyone else as the $1 Million Man. Like it's any of the wrestler. It works so well for so long because Hennig and DiBiase, understood the assignment and embraced it and became it.
Yeah, they knew they were pros. It's just they really were.
I think Terry Taylor's legs bust up here, Conrad. Do you know anything about this?
I don't.
It looks like he picked him up for a slam and he collapsed and he hasn't done anything since. And I think they're just going home early. It's just my interpretation of this.
Well, there it is.
He picked him up for a slam and his knee just gave out and he hasn't done anything since. I think that might have been, but either way, that's
the perfect plex gets it done.
Up in the corner of the Meadowlands there. That was probably an innovation in '89.
What was the innovation? Say that again.
The big screen up in the corner of the Meadowlands. You see them wrestling up in the corner, which is one of my. As a referee, I was at Full Gear actually at the Forum in LA a few weeks ago. I guess some of the fans were saying they couldn't see the screen, so they put the match on the big screen, the Jumbotron at the entrance, and Jay White chucks MJF out of the ring and the Guns are stomping a hole in him. And I turn around and I just see this I see him cheating on the screen because I'm supposed to have my back to them. And I tell Jay White's a professional. I tell him what's going on. And he just grabbed my head and put it in his chest so I couldn't see anything. So it defeats the purpose, but I get it.
Very well done. This is the interview I do believe that we had to, they had to put on the tape. Well, I know we had to put on the tape. Because this is the one where the sign fell down, I do believe.
Let's track it here.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, as you know, the Ultimate Warrior has promised that after his match with you tonight, that he will once again wear the Intercontinental Championship belt. You've got to have some thoughts on that, Rick Rude.
Well, little man, promises are made to be broken, along with arms, legs, necks, and hearts. Tonight, in all the heat of SummerSlam, I will prove the Warrior is nothing more than the ultimate liar and that I am the ultimate Intercontinental Champion.
All right, Bobby Heenan.
Also made to be broken are rules, and if we have to, we will break those rules to keep this title. Now, when you made this promise to all your humanoids, all your little warriors out there with their ugly little mushes painted, big deal, tough. Because you lied them and you let them down because you're not going to capture this. But I'll tell you one thing you're going to do. You're going to be doing something different tomorrow. You're not going to have to paint your face because you're going to have a blue eye and a black eye, courtesy of the Intercontinental Champion.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's get back to the arena.
Let's take a time out right there to talk about something that I know would be near and dear to Ravishing Rick Rude's heart. I'm talking about Blue Chew. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers to you the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. And you can go ahead and increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed with BlueChew.com. You can take them anytime, day or night, so plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. And by the way, I should mention, the process has never been simpler. You sign up at BlueChew.com, you consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And here's the best part, it's all done online. So no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door, all in a discreet package. But there won't be anything discreet about your package. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex, so discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. And we got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free. That's right. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code WHW at checkout. Just pay the $5 shipping. That's it. That's BlueChew.com. Use the promo code WHW. You receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we want to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Now, let's get back to the program. All right, boys and girls, so we're back with the program here, and we want you to skip ahead. We're going to go to 103:24. That's 1 hour, 3 minutes, 24 seconds. 1 hour, 3 minutes, 24 seconds. 103:24. We just heard that fabulous promo from Rick Rude, and now we're going to see his match with the Ultimate Warrior at 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 24 seconds. Bryce, you did such a great job counting us in. You want to count us in again?
You got it. You got it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have just seen that amazing...
The conditions that I have already continued to worsen as I have broken loose from all the straight jackets and all the rubber rooms across these weak planets. And you, Andre the Giant, will realize that the power will become the 8th wonder of the world as we eat you alive. But you, Ravishing Rick Rude, as I promised, you will surrender to the gods above as I beat you. 1, 2, 3.
Let's go back to the arena.
Bryce, as a kid, one of my favorite feuds was Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior. We know that it's going to be a feud through 89, and then even again in 90, he's going to be Warrior's first opponent. I think your first SummerSlam, you mentioned SummerSlam 90. They're in the main event in the big blue steel cage. Look at all the snaps on that belt, Tony. If they get another shot from that camera angle, they had to add extra snaps for Rude's belt. It goes all the way to the plate. His waist was
too
so small.
thin, right? His waist was too thin.
His waist is so tiny that they had to add all those extra straps. Anyway, this is one of my favorite feuds from the era, Bryce. Where does Rude and Warrior rank for you as a kid in your kid fandom?
I think he legitimized the Warrior, right? Because
yes.
If you look back, the 3 best matches, maybe the Hogan match at WrestleMania 6, 3 of the 5 best matches that the Ultimate Warrior had in WWF in this era were with Rick Rude. WrestleMania 5, SummerSlam 89, SummerSlam 90. He knew how to bring out the best in him. He knew how to play to his strengths. And I don't know, I get this. I get the feeling Rude was calling most of those matches and kind of steering the ship. But Warrior came out of all 3 of those better than he went in, and that's kind of the idea of a heel trying to get over a babyface. And clearly the trust was there. They put him, he beats Hogan at WrestleMania 6, and his next stop is Rude at SummerSlam in a steel cage. Like, they must have had real trust in Rude's skills to have Warrior come to that performance.
Well, back in the quote unquote old days, the heels always called the matches.
Okay.
I have a feeling that regardless of who the Warrior was facing, the other guy called the match.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was back, I'm talking back in the territory days before all the big TV stuff. The heel always called the match. That was the given. Ric Flair always called his matches. Arn and Tully always called their matches. Ole Anderson always called his. It was always the heel. And I don't know why that was, but that was just kind of what I always understood happened. Have you heard about that, Conrad? Did Flair ever tell you that? The heels always called the matches?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Chris Hero has a theory. I know one of our new friends to AEW, Tony, that kind of, compartmentalizes a wrestling match as like a Shakespeare play of 3 acts. The first act is the babyface shining. The second act is the heel steering the ship and the babyface taking heat. And the third act is the comeback. And in all those changes from act 1 to act 2, act 2 to act 3 to the finish, that's kind of the heel's decision. So what you're saying makes a lot of sense to me. I can follow that logic because the heel's the one that it's time to flip the switch. It's time to turn it around.
Right.
I think nowadays it feels like more it's kind of a veteran rookie thing. Heel, babyface doesn't matter as much as the person with the most experience, or in our world, the most TV experience sometimes is more so kind of steering the ship. But it varies, I guess. This is a Tony question. These opening lines of these promos, like when you first came on the air at SummerSlam, what you said, what Sean Mooney said to the Honky Tonk Man, are those written for you verbatim?
I wrote the open to SummerSlam.
Okay.
And I had Bruce approve it.
Okay.
I know that, but now you just kind of go with it.
Right.
Because now I'm the grizzled old veteran who's done a million of them.
Sure.
Yeah.
You should see Conrad. Tony's the one steering the ship during these interviews. These guys that are sometimes, we used to do these Orlando tapings we do Ring of Honor and Dark at the Universal Studios. And, Tony Khan would decide in the middle of the match that Schiavone was going to go out after the match and interview these guys. They had no idea what was coming. They're done with the match. They turn around. Schiavone's in the ring with the microphone and he's got a question for them. They don't know what's coming. And he's trying to steer them to answer and lead these horses to water. And it's really impressive to watch. You're smiling, you're right, Tony?
Yeah. Yeah, I love doing those type of interviews. I do. I think Orlando was the perfect place for us, for those kids to learn how to do interviews.
Yep. Low stakes, getting the reps.
Yes, absolutely. Just get in the ring and talk and see what you got. Because, again, back in the day, there was no script. You just talked. And talking is what drew money and what brought people in. And
made people care about you.
Yeah, make people care about you. Got your character over. So I just love going to the ring and doing that. I wish we did more of them. I really do.
I know this.
I really love in-ring interviews. I love them for many reasons. Look at that, man.
That's quite a bump there.
That is quite a bump.
Yeah, geez.
And the fans are buying every bit of it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're all into the Warrior. I mean, that they had to be paying attention. And that's actually something I wanted to ask you about, Tony. Like, you've told us before what a big deal Hulk Hogan's theme song was for the crowd. I mean, it became Pavlovian. They could be exhausted, long night of a TV taping or what have you. And then they hit that Real American and they just come alive. But I got to feel like you were there to see similar reactions or starting to get that way with the Ultimate Warrior's theme song. What a classic theme song. It was just this crazy energy. And then here he comes just running to the ring. What do you remember of the Ultimate Warrior's reaction and as they grew on your timeline there with WWF?
Well, it obviously got bigger and bigger. I always thought that he didn't do a good enough job of milking the entrance. And I knew that was his character. He sprinted to the ring, he grabbed the ropes, he shook the ropes. Compared that to Hulk Hogan, who came out and and took his time and was talking as he came to the ring. But that's just the way the Ultimate Warrior was. I never got the Ultimate Warrior. I never understood him. The interview that he just did, it was like, let's go to the ring. I mean, and then.
Will someone close caption your podcast? They're going to have a real hard time with that.
Yes, they will.
I just never, and, of course, everybody says, he always blew up within the first 3 minutes of the match, whatever. That I'm not so sure. But, you could see that he's taking his time getting back in the ring. Wait a minute. I got a text from Bryce Remsburg.
Oh.
No, it's not.
Hey, I've made the comparison, Tony. You were there for both. That Goldberg was like WCW's Ultimate Warrior. What do you make of that comparison as far as just they're over with the fans, they're big muscular guys, they do some power moves, they're usually short matches, but they've got a badass entrance and they're just big kick-ass baby faces. What do you think of that?
That makes sense. Goldberg did not have a strong promo. He was strong, big and powerful. Didn't really stay in the ring that long. But of course, the Ultimate Warrior was kind of weird, because of all that he talked about. And Goldberg was kind of this real tough, rough former football player.
They're kind of signs of the times. Like, 1989, 1990 is neon and Ninja Turtles and these crazy colors and face paint, and then 97, 98 is Steve Austin and these dudes that don't take any shit. And they just come in and kick ass. And these bald dudes like black trunks. Like I guess that's kind of because I feel like I was a fan for both those times, and I grew up with them. I was 7 or 8 years old here, and then I was 15 or 16 with Austin and Goldberg, and that was like they were both cool in their own way at the time.
Right. Yeah, well, the bald guys got you into puberty, and these guys got your childhood, right?
Yes,
that's right.
So
look at me now.
Yes, I know.
Look where that got me.
It's all different stages in your life, is what it is.
Sure.
And it's what
I'm
was
sure
cool.
I'm sure you've heard this, Conrad, but a lot. I probably heard it from you actually. Your best touch point as a fan is kind of where you got on the ride. Like I think the best SNL cast is 92, 93, Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, Phil Hartman, Chris Farley, Kevin Nealon, because that's when I started watching SNL. This is my sweet spot of pro wrestling. It's the Macho Man, it's the Ultimate Warrior, it's Dusty Rhodes music, it's the Honky Tonk Man's promos. Like it's very comforting for me, and it's just because it's my first memory of it, I guess. That's how nostalgia works. I mean, there's all kinds of stores and websites that just podcasts with Tony Schiavone on them that just live off of nostalgia.
Yeah, TV shows with Tony Schiavone on them.
Yeah, I mean, nostalgia is a big deal. My friend Brian Rogers in South Carolina is the person who pointed out that he thinks everybody has like a decade, and I don't mean like the 80s. I just mean there's like a 10-year run where movies and music and sports, like when you're in your formative years, you always sort of go back to that, and it becomes like your happy place, your happy escape to sort of relive the way things were in that time, whether it was a movie or a song or a wrestling match.
I'll watch Wayne's World and WrestleMania 8 any day of the year. It just makes me feel good. Yep.
Tony, if you had, what is your sort of comfort food of wrestling? We've talked about Bryce and I really grew up as WWF kids. I know that yours was Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, but is there a specific year that you go to, or a match or a program or something like that?
And why was it black and white, huh, Tony? Right? Abraham Lincoln with the hammer locks and
yes, with that traditional thumb in the anus grip.
Wow.
Okay. That was recently on
social. I saw you post it. Yeah,
you saw that. I found it on Instagram. Old timey wrestling call, black and white. He said that reliable thumb in the anus grip, pick him up for the slam. I'm thinking I got to use that on TV.
I would love. Can you say anus on TBS or TNT?
They say almost everything, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a real part of your body. It's an anatomical term. I think that makes it okay.
We'll give it to MJF to say, because he gets away with every freaking thing.
Hey, you know what? If you said that on a show where you were working with Taz, say your line again about the anus, and then I'll be Taz.
Yeah. Okay. Picks him up with that traditional thumb in the anus grip.
Rectum Jones over here.
you know, Hook has an anus too. You know that, right? Hook has...
I think that's behind the scenes. I don't think that's on mic.
I forgot what we were talking about. See, just
Hook's anus. Hook's rectum.
No, not Hook's anus. No.
Oh yeah. What you grew up on? Like we're talking.
What I grew up on. Yes. I'm thinking that it was my high school and college years. From like 74 to 80. That time was especially when I was a senior in high school and a freshman, junior, and sophomore in college. Those were my years, like 77, 78.
So who were the top stars? Yeah.
Who were the top guys?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, Wahoo McDaniel, Greg Valentine, the Anderson brothers, Blackjack Mulligan. Was a part of it. Who else? Johnny Weaver was a part of it.
Did you get WWF in Virginia at all?
No, not at all.
Wow.
The only way I knew of WWF and AWA was what we call the Apter magazines, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Wrestler and Pro Wrestling Illustrated or whatever it was. There were two of them, and I bought those religiously.
Oh, another Ref Pump.
Another one, man. 2 in the first few matches here.
Oh, and it's a double down.
Who are the agents on this show?
Get up. So,
Opening his eye.
Bryce, we talked about this with Matt last week. Did you prefer long-haired Rude or short-haired Rude?
I prefer long hair Rude. It seems like a more that's everyone had long hair to me when wrestling started. It just felt, even though it wasn't really true, it felt like everyone had long hair. That's what I like. I like long hair Rude the most. But that's me being a WWF kid, I guess, too.
That's the 80s too, right? Longer,
yes.
a mullet type hair that he has.
When I started training, someone told me some of the old timers was like they all had long hair because it was easier to call spots, and that made a lot of sense to me.
Wow.
I didn't text you. Don't say I did. That wasn't me.
Somebody did. Oh,
well, I know we're on the same text chain getting texts, but it's not me texting you. I'm
okay.
Tony, could we ever see you embrace airbrush as a part of your wardrobe? We know Jimmy Hart did it, and we know that guys in the 80s, whether it was the Ultimate Warrior or Ravishing Rick Rude, they were rocking the airbrush. Could we see you use a little airbrush on Dynamite or TNT?
Well, let me ask you this, Conrad. What type of airbrush design do you think I should have, you silly shit?
Well, I was wondering, like the jacket. Like, you could do an airbrush jacket like Jimmy Hart used to do.
Okay, I get it, but what should I put on there?
Bug. Lois.
Okay, we've gone too far now. Hey, Bug. Want to be on a jacket?
There's no referee. I wish Bryce could slide in there.
I know. 6-year-old Bryce, where was he? Is this the same arena that is now where the Devils play? Is this the Prudential Center? Or no, this is East Rutherford. That's Newark, right?
Yeah, this was torn down when they built the new stadium.
I think I went to SummerSlam 97 here. I don't know if it's the exact same building, but it was definitely like Jersey Meadowlands. It was Heart and Soul, Bret Hart and The Undertaker.
Great show.
Yeah, I think it was the Meadowlands.
So you saw Austin get dumped on his head, Bryce.
I did.
Yeah.
I saw Mick Foley fall off the cell in Pittsburgh in June 98 too. I was there. Here we go. Nice slow one.
Oh, foot on the ropes.
Ring positioning.
Oh, man.
Heenan loves it.
I think a lot of our favorite wrestlers as kids were influenced by the Ultimate Warrior, even guys like Bryan Danielson. And he's even told the story before that when his parents took him to wrestling, it was a big topic of conversation in his household because for whatever reason, Rick Rude's butt came out during the match. And I guess his sisters, and it was a big conversation. I just think it's interesting to think about the Ultimate Warrior for all the criticism he gets and all the negativity that surrounds his legacy, whatever it may be. There's a lot of fantastic professional wrestlers who grew up just enamored with him and this particular feud we're watching right now.
Yeah. What was the purpose of that ref bump? I don't think any chicanery happened while he was down.
No.
I don't. Usually it leads to something happening. Earlier he's just smashing him with the bell right in front of the ref, but here when the ref's down, nothing evil happened. Who are your guys to watch now, Tony? When you watch AEW now, Bryan Danielson is one of the reasons this is crazy. This is a wild Gonzo bomb. Oh, that's like 91 All Japan stuff and 1989 WWF. That's those guys Eddie Kingston's always yammering about, Tony. Kawada and those guys.
Who are my ones to watch?
Yeah, sorry, I got sidetracked by that crazy movie.
Yeah.
I think Bryan Danielson still to this day as someone. Just go ahead. You agree?
Yeah, we have talked on this program before, Conrad, about greatest wrestlers.
Yes,
and I had said that because I never worked with him before, but Shawn Michaels was number one and Flair was number two. Bryan Danielson's number one now with a freaking bullet. Of the greatest wrestler I've ever seen. I
think of the touchstones of why I love. I think from my childhood, Macho Man Randy Savage is greatest of all time. Effective babyface, effective heel, great in the ring, great on the microphone, et cetera, et cetera. When you use those, like Bryan does all those things too, just for a modern era.
Yeah.
Like the crowd will never not care about Bryan Danielson. He tries to be heel. They don't want to boo him. He tries anyway. He tries so hard. He won't give up. He can be a heel one week, a babyface the next. Like he's just that good. And you can't deny what he brings to the table. And peel back the curtain, like the guy he is in the locker room, just like be more like Bryan Danielson, be more like Adam Cole, be more like Sting. Anybody who asks, I tell them that.
Yeah, exactly. Just here's Roddy Piper out with his long mullet.
Let's track it here. This is a fun moment.
Giving it to him. Look at Rude giving it to him.
And Piper gave it right back. And now,
so we get the little wiggle, we get the taunt from in the ring. Piper comes down, flips up the kilt, shows his bare buttocks.
Yeah.
That gives the Warrior just a minute to suplex Rude off the second rope. And
can we track this pop that is about to happen?
Let's do it. It's a big moment here.
Yeah.
Rude had this match won.
I don't know if he had it won or not. He certainly had the advantage, and now the advantage is all Ultimate Warriors.
This is horrible. This is an atrocity. I can't believe Morella would allow Piper to come out here and distract the champion.
High over his head. Drops him down. The Warriors. Rolls him over. Yes. Let's get the official word. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of this bout and the new Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior. And absolute.
Man, I never get tired of Howard Finkel hitting the and new.
I thought he was going to say it once again, but he said and new, which is even better. That's the best. Look at that. Still, look at that pop. Him and the Honky Tonk Man's even bigger one somehow when he comes out and steamrolls the Honky Tonk Man.
A year prior. Yeah.
Yeah. It's no one sitting down, just, look at kids, their parents, everybody just going crazy. You just don't see that anymore.
Vince had to know at this moment, okay, he's our guy. I mean, he's won the Intercontinental Championship at 88 and 89, but you see the reaction here, and you're right, Bryce, like adults, kids, everybody going bananas. And what a great shot here of Sean Mooney in the pandemonium, just being a part of it. It's fun. I mean, to think about the fact that this is the start of the Intercontinental title run, the last one for the Warrior, because he's moving on up to the world title picture.
He was already set up the Andre feud before the match, though. That was like they always had what was around the bend, what was coming after the pay-per-view. He was already talking Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
Good thing he won. That would have been a sad assignment for Sean Mooney out there if Rick Rude won. That'd have been a real bummer. It's really fortunate for Sean.
That's so good. That's Sean Mooney in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. Speaking of good,
have
Tony.
Have you talked to Sean Mooney with Conrad in your modern era days, Tony? I know he does some stuff sometimes.
I don't. Have we talked?
We have not had him on here. We've had him, at some of our shows and stuff, but we've never actually done a show with him. But maybe we can. And Tony, we've got a little surprise for you because you actually made a special request, and our crack producer, Mr. Dave Silva, has actually found it. Believe it or not, once upon a time, you actually did a full interview with Kurt Fuller, who played Brell, the heel from the movie No Holds Barred, because this is a No Holds Barred summer here in 1989. The movie came out, I believe, in June, and now here we are in August. So the movie is still in a handful of theaters, and you did a full-blown interview with Kurt Fuller at the premiere of No Holds Barred, and we've got that here.
Of course, a No Holds Barred summer precedes a No Holds Barred Christmas, right, Conrad?
Lord, I love that you know all of our stuff here, Bryce. So listen, you wanted to see it. We've got it for you queued up here. We're going to take a little time out. So this is not on the Peacock show. We're just going to do a little pivot. Here's Tony Schiavone talking with Kurt Fuller in full character to promote the movie No Holds Barred.
No Holds Barred starring Hulk Hogan continues to set box office records around the world. Let's talk to some of the fans and get their impression of Hulk Hogan in No Holds Barred.
It's just a fantastic show. It was just non-stop action from the moment I sat down.
Zeus is huge. I didn't think he was going to be that big.
Oh, it's tremendous. What a fight scene. It was the best. I wouldn't miss it. Go see it. It's great.
It's fantastic. Hulk is the best. Zeus, forget about it. He's history.
The Hulkster took care of Zeus. Everybody out there, go see it. You're going to love this movie. It's going to be the best movie of the summer.
It was great. I loved it.
Get out of my way. Mr. Brill.
Please get out of my way. Thank you.
Well, give us your impressions of the movie.
All right, my impressions of the movie. First of all, this is not a movie. It is a conspiracy. It was agreed that Hulk Hogan would lose the match. What do I find when I come in? He wins. My man, Zeus, it was contractually agreed that Zeus would become the winner I'm so upset I can hardly formulate my thoughts. Zeus was the winner, Hulk was the loser. And what do I find? Hulk's the winner and Zeus is the loser. Why are you staring at me?
Well, I think fans all over the world love this movie from what we've seen so far.
What have you seen so far is a travesty and a conspiracy against my elements by the puppets of Hulk Hogan and whoever is behind him.
Well, certainly what we've heard here tonight, that everyone certainly loves No Holds Barred.
I hate it. Zeus is the winner. Hulk is the loser. That I love. I hate Hulk winning. Zeus wins.
Well, certainly one man's opinion.
You're an idiot.
On the movie, No Holds Barred. So that's it, fans around the world thrilled about No Holds Barred starring Hulk Hogan, a box office smash.
So, Tony, take us through that. What was that? What do you remember of that movie premiere and that little segment with Kurt Fuller?
They were all everybody we interviewed there, and everybody at the premiere at that State Theater, which was in Connecticut, members of either the family or office staff or production staff. They were all. So the kids that we talked to, either mom or dad worked for the WWE, or there was Tommy Carlucci with the beard. He was like one of our producers. The first guy you saw was, I think his name was Doug. I think he was one of the financial guys. And I remember when
Doug Sages.
Yeah. Good call. I remember when Kurt Fuller walked out, we didn't rehearse anything. They just said he's going to walk out in character and you just interview him. And so we did. But I remember thinking, he died in the movie.
And he did give a spoiler in the promo where he's like, Zeus wins. It was contractually obligated.
Yeah. Oh, here's Mr. Brill, who died in the movie, but here he's back with us. It's like
a little silly.
It's wrestling, right? So
it is
reincarnated as the producer of Wayne's World too, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, man. We talked about Wayne's World, and there he is again.
He sure.
Our next partner is AG1, the daily foundational nutritional supplements that supports whole body health. I drink it literally every day, and I gave it a try because my wife knew that if I was going to do it, it needed to actually taste good. I was not a fan of taking pills and vitamins, and I started doing AG1, just one scoop every morning. My wife does it before she makes her coffee. And man, it just makes me feel sharper throughout the rest of the day. And I drank it and I made it a daily habit. And since I've been drinking it, I can tell you that I'm sleeping better. I feel like I've got more clarity. I feel like I'm more effective at work. And covering my nutritional basis for the day literally just couldn't be any easier. That's why we trust AG1. We just mix one small scoop in a cup of water and that's it. Every morning we're done. I also want to point out that it's very affordable. It's like your daily nutritional insurance, if you will. It's going to improve your digestion. You're going to see more sustained energy. You're going to have better mental clarity and focus. It just checks all the boxes. And we should also mention that a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine. And that's why we recommend you try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go right now to drinkag1.com/WHW. That's drinkag1.com/WHW. Check it out. drinkag1.com/WHW.
was.
Well, let's get to our main event. The real reason we're here. We're going to go to 2 hours rather, 15 minutes and 48 seconds. That's 2 hours, 15 minutes and 48 seconds. It's time for our main event. It's Hulk Hogan teaming with his pal Brutus, the freaking barber Beefcake, against Randy the Macho Man Savage, and Zeus with Scary Sherry in their corner. It's 2 hours, 15 minutes and 48 seconds. Bryce, you've been on a roll. You want to count us in one last time?
Okay, one last time. Here we go, Tony. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Play.
There we go.
That's all. Fans still on their feet here for the Hulkster. Look at that. They've got a game plan. You can't tell me Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake in the most talked about event of the entire summer.
So, Tony, talk to us about Zeus. I absolutely love this character and this storyline, the idea that it was a movie and then it was a match. I wish there would have been a Zeus character or a Zeus action figure released in the era. It was a big part of my fandom. I can look back now and say, boy, that was a big risk. I don't know that I would have done that, but they did. And I enjoyed it as a kid. Did you spend any time with Tony Tiny Lister?
Oh, yeah.
How was he?
Quality guy. I just was willing to do whatever it took to make this work. He realized this was, and of course, he was in movies, and I guess even got some movies after this.
Oh yeah, Friday was a huge hit for him.
Yeah, and he was in the Batman movie, the one with the Joker, wasn't he?
Oh, let's track it here for Howard Finkel.
I've just been informed by the WWF champion that I should now introduce to you the First Lady of the World Wrestling Federation.
Listen to this!
Elizabeth!
She's not scared, Jesse! And you thought she was scared. You thought they didn't want to bring her in. Here she comes in all her glory. Miss Elizabeth, and listen to the fans.
Tony, talk to me about this. Like as an adult, I can't wrap my head around it. As a kid, I was excited that Elizabeth was there too. But now as an adult, I'm wondering, why was I so excited that Elizabeth was there? What was it about Miss Elizabeth that made her so special and connected her with the audience? Because that was a big pop. I mean, she's coming in last on this pay-per-view. And I don't know. It's just, I can't wrap my head around or put my finger on why was she so popular?
Positioning. And I say that because we put a lot of time and effort into her. I remember one of my few live interviews that I did on, it was probably on Challenge, was Miss Elizabeth live in the arena. And that interview was a completely scripted interview that I did with her, rehearsed it with her in the back. And, Vince loved her, the way she looked, the way she presented herself. And we positioned her as a viable part of what was going on, and the fans bought it. I think her beauty had something to do with it too.
Sure. It's a sign of the times, but there were so few women, right? There was only Elizabeth and Sherry.
Yeah.
So it's just by that math, just so much more special. The female population of the roster is, 5% or 10% or whatever, not even 5%. So, but now it's just commonplace. And that's how far we've come, I suppose, with equality. But in that era, it was so special. So I remember I never had seen women's wrestling when I started. And then when like Alundra Blaze and Bull Nakano came around, I was like, it just felt like this completely exciting new prospect. Cause when I started, there wasn't women's wrestling on TV.
I just think it's interesting because you look back and you're like, okay, there weren't a bunch of great Liz promos. It's not like Liz was involved physically a lot. I mean, she's not interfering in matches or having big spots, and there's no great Liz bumps. I mean, it's just, you think back about what a big part of this era she was, really. I mean, with nominal effort as far as in front of the camera, like she's there, and I'm not taking away. I'm just saying these days it would be like, okay, then we're going to throw you off the building and set you on fire. And like, all right, Vince Russo is going to have us bury you in the desert, and we're going to do a sit down with your mother. And then somebody's going to break in the house. And it's like, none of that happened, but she was still a megastar. And I think, Bryce, you're onto it. Like, we hated Sensational Sherry. Like, we knew she was a heel. She's always cheating. She's always interfering. She is a strong promo. So we do need someone to just counteract that evil. So here is this, pure as the driven snow, Disney character, Elizabeth, and she's representing all that's good. And maybe the reason we're pulling for is because we hate Sherry.
Well, another thing too, and especially during this era, is that she was married to a maniac, right?
Yes.
And so people looked at says, that beautiful, young, demure little woman is married to this crazy man, and we feel for her, right? It's like me being married to Lois. It's like you feel for me.
You do. And, we're pulling for you, Tony.
Thank you very much.
Hey, so we didn't tell us at the top of the show, what are you doing for Christmas? Are y'all going somewhere? Or is it just y'all at the house this year?
Just us. Well, we're going to probably go to Chris's house.
There you go.
I am taking her to San Antonio this weekend.
Really?
We got an event there. Yes. But she's not going to come to the show, nor is she going to be seen by anyone.
Well, is she going to Riverwalk?
A wheelchair and a black cloth.
Yes.
Around the airport.
A wheelchair and a black cloth is the best. What a callback, Bryce. You got a future in comedy, buddy.
Yeah, you do. No, she's got some friends from her days as an Army brat. And her friend and her husband are retired from the Army, and San Antonio is a big military town. So she's going to go up and visit with friends. She said, "But I don't want to go to the show." And I said, "Well, you haven't been invited, so I don't think you're going to go." Okay. But she's going to go, and I'd love people to meet her because, as you know, she's very entertaining. Especially when she's had a lot to drink. She's very entertaining.
She's the best. A tipsy Lois is the best Lois.
Nothing like it.
Would she bring the kids to shows when they were little, Tony?
I would bring the kids to the shows.
Okay.
Yeah, she wouldn't go.
Okay.
She came
they just stay in the back while you did the show, or they left early?
Yeah, they stay in the back. But yeah, she came to some shows, not many though. But she's never liked wrestling, and praise the Lord for that.
I was talking to Matt last week, and we discovered that we were both in Washington D.C. when Sting beat Hogan at Starrcade '97. He had a much better seat. He had a much better seat than I did that night. But we were both in the building in the same night.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a story that is.
We were talking about Sting together. He's working on he's got a little project on. We were talking about Sting. It was great.
Wow. Tremendous.
This bear hug here, you gotta wonder, like, if you're Hebner, you think you get in Hogan's ear and you're like, hey, if you think this is bad, having to sell this bear hug from this actor, only a handful of years from now, a man will cover himself in toilet paper and come in and butt fuck you right in the middle of the ring. Look at a bear hug down to the floor. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
That's when the bear hug is most effective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's how you got all those little Schiavones running around. Bear hug on the floor.
Yeah. And those little Schiavones have a bunch of more little Schiavones. It's crazy.
Yeah. One was born a couple of weeks ago, and
hey,
coming up.
We didn't say that on the show, Tony, but you just mentioned it. Shout out to your daughter for bringing her new debut album dropped.
Yes. It's called Clara Grace.
There you go.
Yeah. She was born back about a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago. And it's number 7, and Matt and his wife will have number 8 here coming up pretty soon. There you go.
Where does she live? Where does that daughter live?
She lives in Woodstock, which is about 20 minutes from here.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
So you've met the baby, you've held the baby?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was there in the hospital the day after it was born.
No, she knows if she wants.
She knew not to do it on a Wednesday or a Saturday.
That's right.
She's a daughter of the business.
That's right. Exactly. No Wednesdays, no Saturdays.
Right. Isn't that crazy? You hear those stories. Like, I mean, it's how far we've come, but you rushing home from the road to get to the hospital and miss your kid being born and stuff. Like that's just wild to me. Like that's was a different era, and I understand it. But when they'd go, 25, 30 days in a row on the road and not be able to call home, and your wife wouldn't know where you were and stuff, like that's just wild to me. It makes me appreciate when I feel I have little kids. I feel guilty leaving sometimes, but I always think, it used to be way, way, way worse.
Yeah, I've told this story many times here on this podcast. When Matt was born, or when Lois went into labor with Matt, in 1982, I was in Savannah, Georgia with the baseball team, the Charlotte baseball team. I had driven down there because I knew that she could go into labor. Mm-hmm. And I called, we were having a rain delay, and it was pouring rain. So we were still at the hotel, and I called on a payphone. And Lois, Lib from the office answered the phone, Lib Schilt, who, by the way, son Michael Schilt became the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. Lib was at my house. She answered the phone, and I said, Lib, what are you doing there? So I just came to visit Lois. I said, okay. Is she there? Put her on the phone. And Lois came to the phone going, I said, are you okay? She said, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just out of breath trying to get at the phone. I said, okay, just checking. And she said, here's Melba, another lady, Melba Ruby. And Melba got on the phone. Melba's no longer with us, and Liv's no longer with us. Melba said, I think you better get here as soon as you can. And we had a rain delay that night, and I got in the car with two players, Drungo Hayeswood and John Stafaro, got in my little white Toyota, and we drove 100 miles an hour to get to Charlotte, which was about 4.5 hours away. And I got in just in time for Matt to be born.
Wow.
So that's a story of Matt being born. Lois was already in labor. Her feet were already in the stirrups. And I took one look at her and almost fainted. I never will forget, she's in the stirrups. She says, would somebody catch his ass? His face is as green as the scrubs he's got on. Because I was going, okay.
I didn't go on that end. I was back. They put up like a curtain, and I was up. I was holding their hand up with the face. I didn't want to go. I knew that would happen to me. No thanks.
Yeah, no, I didn't do that again.
Yeah,
yeah.
Matt's the oldest.
Yeah, Matt's the oldest.
Okay.
So, but that's where I was. I mean, even though I knew she was close to being in labor, I made the trip. Right, we had a road trip still, and now they've got. When you have a baby now, if you're the dad, you get time off, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Paternity leave.
Yeah.
Yikes.
You didn't get any of that, huh? Were you, did you make all 5 births? Were you there for present from?
I missed Laurie's birth, because I was babysitting Matt. and what happened was, Lois was in the back, and they said, we'll call you. She's got plenty of time. Matt was acting up. I put him in the back of a car, in the car seat, because I knew he'd fall asleep. And I drove around Charlotte. He fell asleep. I came back with him over my shoulder like that. Oh, she just had the baby.
That's better than being in like California or something, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know about you guys, but Tiny Lister looks damn good here.
Hey, for a guy who at this point has had only a handful of matches, and he's in a pay-per-view main event, I mean, got to give him some props here.
He's overdoing it.
How'd they train him, Tony? Did they have? They didn't have like a tracks or a ring in Connecticut. How did he learn how to wrestle?
I think he went down to Florida, if I remember, with Hogan.
That's right. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, and they worked on the match. But see, everything he did, he overacted. Okay.
You know what I just realized?
He's playing in the back row. It's theater.
Yeah, he's not only choking, look at his head, and he's screaming back.
Yeah.
This is his first match ever.
Talking about baseball, Conrad. You think he likes to talk about wrestling? Get him going about baseball. It's fun. You said the Sky Dome earlier. Tony and I went to see a Blue Jays game. We had a day off in Toronto, and a whole bunch of us went to Looney Dog Night in Toronto. And I asked Tony, I was like, "Is this the first time you've been here since WrestleMania 6?" And he said, "Yes." And then he was, kind of like, whatever, blah, blah, baseball. And the game gets going. It's interesting. He's next to him. He's talking about the pitches the guys are throwing, the strategy of the catcher, and base running strategies. And it's really interesting. He's got, I don't know if you're a baseball guy, but he's got some real intricate baseball thoughts as well. It's still in there. It's like his love of wrestling. It never really went away.
Well, I've called more baseball games than I have wrestling shows.
Wow, that's something.
Yeah, because I did 144 baseball games a year for like 15 years. So, multiply that. I don't think I've done that many wrestling shows.
No.
So,
but did you ever go see a game at the Sky Dome and take a look in the hotel rooms and see anything as interesting as you did during a wrestling show, Tony?
You always bring it back to that common low denominator, don't you?
Well, I don't know that Bryce has heard this story.
Okay.
Please. There's a Hard Rock Cafe in there. There's a hotel in there. What happened there?
Conrad, do you know the story? I don't know what we're talking.
You've told the story before that at the Sky Dome, there were hotel rooms that could actually see into the building.
Yes, of course.
And you could actually sometimes see what was going on in the hotel room. And apparently, as you tell the story, there was a show going on there one day.
I don't remember that story.
Well, you've told it before on an old episode of WHW, but maybe you've just purged it from your memory.
Okay. Or maybe you can go to boxofgimmicks.com and purchase a t-shirt that says "You a Lie."
Okay. Well, all right. Okay. Hey, this is Zeus's first match. How impressive is that with the benefit of hindsight?
Wow.
Yeah. Listen.
He's going to wrestle at Survivor Series and then the match, the movie in Nashville, that terrible match that you and I watched not too long ago with him and Abdul the Butcher down in Puerto Rico.
Woo.
And then that Doomsday Cage that you love so much with Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man against every heel in all of WCW. So, I mean, that's it for his entire wrestling career. Mm-hmm. Hey, if you're going to,
what a cage match listing that is.
I'm just saying, you get the main event of SummerSlam, a Survivor Series match, a match that's shown in theaters, a match in Puerto Rico, and then a WCW main event. That's his whole career. 5 matches, all main events. How do you beat that?
No, you don't beat that. And you don't beat that by this being your first match and being across from Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
And having the Macho Man Randy Savage as your partner.
Well, they must have had a lot of faith in him. That's like the equivalent of I don't know, Logan Paul or somebody like who catapults to the main event of a pay-per-view or even, their first matches at WrestleMania. It's wild.
Right. And the fans are into. Look how the fans are into. Well, they're into anything Hulk Hogan does.
Yes, they are.
Era. Yeah.
That tan though, that's a next level tan Hogan sporting. Can we agree?
Oh, that's great.
There were there's no pre-show matches or maybe one quick one, and the pay-per-views are 3 hours. This is there might have been some lower card matches, but the crowd's engaged. There's nothing. They never come down all night.
Look at Sherry. Everything Sherry does and did was great. Oh, that's a pretty good bump.
Yeah.
Got the loaded purse there of Sherry.
Yep.
Hogan always wrestled like a heel, even when he was a babyface.
Of course.
Sure. That whole Sid Justice thing, he was totally wrong. Ooh.
Look at him. Don't go down. Don't go down. The big slam. Yeah. Thumb in the 8 of script.
Rectum Jones.
And there's the reason Hulk is having trouble walking right now.
Now what's he gonna do? He already hit Zeus with an illegal foreign object. It took that for Hogan to win the match.
Oh, yeah, hit him right in the mouth.
You advocate brutality of a man hitting a woman? This is horrible.
Look at her.
Elizabeth!
How about the crazy extension ponytail she's got? Brutus the barber has the shears out.
I think it's cutting time.
What on earth is left for him to do?
At the Meadowlands.
I'm surprised Zeus took the pin there. That's what I like.
Zeus and the Macho Man cannot get in. And Sherry, thanks to her loaded purse. Oh!
I don't believe this.
Yes!
It's crazy. That wasn't that long a week ago.
They got the win.
What a finish.
Look at this.
Here are your winners, Brutus, Beefcake, and Hogan.
And Jesse Ventura, there is a power stronger than Zeus. and it's called Hulkamania.
Yeah, sure, Schiavone.
Listen to that line. How proud of you of that one, Tony.
That's what it's called. Hogan had to use an illegal.
So that's it, man. Zeus goes down. Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake are victorious, along with the lovely Miss Elizabeth. Sherry doing her best sell job, having her hair just cut. But we didn't talk about Brutus much in this, but man, what a big spot this was for him. I mean, a pay-per-view main event, rubbing shoulders with Hulk Hogan. It was a big deal for Zeus, but it was a big deal for Brutus too here.
Yeah, it's it sure was.
This is probably his highest point, right, Conrad? This is the peak of his. This is his only pay-per-view main event.
I mean, I think this is probably the high water mark for him, I would think. And then, I
guess the Mega Maniacs double main event at WrestleMania 9, technically. But
that's middle of the card.
He was not on this level then.
Yeah.
Didn't he main event for us too?
He did at a Starrcade in Nashville. Hogan and him, the Zodiac or whatever he was at the time.
Yeah, the Zodiac. Yes. Yes, no. Yes, no. I like that character. I love that character. I thought it was one of his better characters. That yes, no shit really popped me.
So one above the men with no name for you, right, Tony?
Mm-hmm.
Bryce, in your fandom, where do you rank that world title over Miss Elizabeth's shoulder? The Winged Eagle, as belt collectors
That's
call
the
it.
one. I was just. There's a wrestling store on South Street in Philadelphia. They have all the belts up on the wall. That's the one I picked up to hold. That Winged Eagle. That's it. That's Macho Man's belt. That's Hogan's belt. That's Ultimate Warrior's belt. That's Flair's belt. That's Brett's belt. That's it for me. Sean's belt. That one crosses generations.
I agree. It's that and the big gold are my two favorite belts of all time. Tony, yours is still the old 10 pounds of gold, do you think?
Yep. The old globe belt is what I call it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Somebody had, I think on Netflix or somewhere, and I was going through, or maybe it was on Max, I was going through documentaries and they had something about Ric Flair on there and they just showed some.
Oh, yeah.
Ric Flairs.
Golden auction. Yeah. They had one of his old robes. It's on Netflix.
Yeah. And they showed the belt and I was thinking, yeah, that means that just was, it was subtle, but it was the world champion, right?
Right.
Do you have one of those, Connor? Do you have a Winged Eagle?
I've had several. I don't have a ring used one. I had a piece of ring used leather from a Winged Eagle, but I never had a set of ring used plates. I'd love to get. It's one of the only belts that eludes me. I just can't find. Like I've got Macho Man's first Intercontinental title, and I've got the Rock Austin, Big Eagle from WrestleMania 17. But I want a dual plated, like the one we see here, Winged Eagle, as collectors call it. Only 3 guys held it when it was dual plated, and that's Hogan and Savage and Warrior. But it sort of ended, and with Warrior, they just started going all gold. I mean, I still like that belt, but my peak fandom is represented by 88, 89, 90. I'd love to have one of those. I haven't been able to find one.
You like the light blue and the white the Warrior had?
Those were all gold. They were cool, and I liked them for him, but I still prefer black and sort of dual plated, so gold and nickel.
I love the visual of hated Iraqi sympathizer Sergeant Slaughter holding this beautiful, like floral lavender belt at the back of his belt at the 91 Royal Rumble.
It's so silly. So silly.
Somewhere Jeff Jones sat up in bed as our resident belt pervert in AEW. He just heard us talking about belts, so we got his attention. He's about to text us or call us, and he's a caller, not a texter, right, Tony? That's Tony's buddy.
Yeah,
Tony rides with him. That's his boy.
No, he's my driver. We were talking about drivers that we hire. He's my driver.
Yeah. You don't tip him though.
I was going to say you ain't giving him $100.
You tip him in stories. You tip him in information. That's his currency.
No. I tip him in listening to him bitch about everybody else.
What? Jeff Jones complains about somebody? I never heard of that.
I sit there and I just go, yeah. You know what you can get these suits now from Indochino, and I've gotten a bunch of them, and you can personalize them on the inside with some script, right? Mm-hmm. I've got a couple of them. I got the tape machines are rolling. One I got, we're desperately out of time. A couple I got that says all dogs matter. Jeff got one. He opened it up. It says Schiavone's driver.
Did he really get a jacket that says Schiavone's driver?
Yes, he did.
I love that. Inside. Well, Bryce, this was a lot of fun today.
Your whole family now. It's not just you. You can drive all of them.
That's right. You can drive them out around too.
The whole deal, the whole clan.
Yep.
Well, Bryce, I appreciate you taking time to do this today. This was way more fun than I expected. I had a blast talking about old WWF with you, and I hope you have a great Christmas. And thanks for joining us today to celebrate 40 years of our pal Tony Schiavone.
It couldn't happen to a nicer man. It's a true pleasure, truly, Conrad. Before AEW started, I have very vivid memories walking my dog, walking my infant son in the carry around, 16, 17, listening to you and Bruce, and growing up with Tony Schiavone, and now being able to call him a coworker and on the right day, a friend. This was a real honor. Thank you for having me.
Well, Bryce, you are one of the good guys in the sport. You really are. And speaking of hard worker, holy shit. Working in the travel department.
Thankless job, buddy. Thankless job.
I'm afraid to see what happened in the last 2 hours. Today's a travel day. Everyone's on their way to Oklahoma City. It's a connection. Today's going to be a day. So I'm afraid to look at my phone, but this is a welcome distraction. Yeah. Thank you both, John.
Sometimes I'll talk to Excalibur and you guys go out and maybe have a beer or have dinner, and I'll say, how was dinner? He said, Bryce had to stay on his phone the entire time. So you talk about working hard. You're one of the hardest workers, and not only that, one of the best referees. And remember, every time that Bryce goes with the double down and starts to count, I'm somewhere going, it's my favorite part. It's my favorite part of the whole match. So Bryce, you're a good man, and thanks for being with us, brother.
Thanks for having me, Tony. Thanks for having me, Conrad.
Man, we had a great time, but Tony, unfortunately, it looks like it's about that time.
Yes, and just like those fucking dogs in the background, Lois, give me a goddamn shut up, Scout, would you? I hear that at the house more than anything else. We're desperately out of time. We'll see you next week on What Happened When. We come to you each and every Wednesday on Westwood One, but Mondays we come to you ad-free and exclusively on
Patreon, patreon.com/WHW Monday, or of course, adfreeshows.com.
Oh, hood.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.